Welcome, no question about that. This is the Midweek Pod with me, Ed, and Daniel. How's it going, Daniel?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very good. Somehow we haven't seen you for a while, I think. Less content in the summer.
Yeah, fewer content. Yeah,
Fewer. Yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah, what have I been doing? Like a lot of tennis, went to Glastonbury, met a listener, met a satisfied listener working in the Jerk Place. If you're listening, hello, we appreciate the support, thank you.
Very good.
Yeah.
Glasgow
was good. I would say the music was not to my taste in general. I felt like an extremely unimaginative list of bookings. So I basically let my wife choose what we saw because there was nothing I was too mad to see. Even Pulp, who I guess are one of the bands from my era, I saw them last summer, so I didn't feel the need to force the issue this time. So yeah, it was good. Although last weekend I went to see Black Sharif, and that gig was a million times better than anything I saw at Gusto. That was the best thing. That was miles better than Beyonce as well, who I saw a couple of times, which you was here. That was the best gig I've seen in a long, long time. And what Black Sharif, for those of you who aren't familiar with him, is just a total full package. Amazing voice, good, interesting lyricist, can dance, great gear. Just everything about that guy is brilliant. And if anyone wants, if you search for Blacko on Spotify, you'll find my playlist of him. I urge you to do it. And yeah, these are not things I say very often, but yeah, do that.
All right, yeah, I missed all of Glasgow. All I caught was all the political fallout. So
I happened to catch that bit as well. Well, yeah, in the live.
That was interesting, yeah. All right, yeah. So we're going to talk about, well, we can talk about that if you want, but maybe not. I get enough flack for that kind of stuff. We're going to talk about transfers in some speculation and a lot not happening. I don't know whether you're joining the collective online freak out about that. And then talk about the bomb squad, the 5 that have been told that they're no longer part of the squad and what's potentially happening there, and some interesting stuff in the market overall. Let's start with that last bit, actually. What do you make of Victor Osimhen seemingly heading to Galatasaray for 75 million euros plus 18 million net salary per year? How does a Turkish club come up with those numbers? Because it's basically half of their revenue.
Yeah, I mean, that I can't answer. But as a player, I mean, of all the strikers available to us, if you offered me one, I would take it.
He'd be the one, for sure.
Yeah, he's obviously the best of them, or at least with the best track record by far of all of them. But signing someone like him on astonishing wages is at the same time exactly what we're trying to stop doing.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't massively have a problem if the clubs say no to that for that reason. The problem we have, obviously, is that we're not replete with options, and we're also not replete with goals.
No, I mean, it'd been perfect, but the effective wage, because of the tax rate in Turkey, there's this 20% flat rate tax. Well, it's actually 15 with a rebate on footballers, which makes it possible to pay effectively very large wages. It would have been something like £485,000 a week, effectively, for United to do that. The release clause was there. I don't know how Galatasaray are funding that, even if they pay it over a 5-year period, which would be fairly common. It's so far beyond. I mean, it's 4 times the biggest transfer ever into Turkish football. So something slightly odd is going on now. I suspect this is not the last time we've heard of it. The other weird transfer seemingly happened this week is Noni Madueke from Chelsea to Arsenal, which makes absolutely no sense to me. Explain this one. Is he a Saka understudy? They don't need to spend 50 million quid on an understudy for Bukayo Saka. So what's going on there? He's going to play on the left.
He'd play on the left, and Martinelli hasn't been reliable. So sort of understand it. And the way that Chelsea will look at it is it's a PSR thing, isn't it? That they make a profit. And Madueke's a good player, but he's not so good you can't sell him and replace him with someone. I mean, I'm not sure I would have gone for Jamie Bynoe-Gittins. In fact, I wouldn't. But sometimes you know how you have players and you know they're meant to be good, but it just so happens that every time you see them, they don't play particularly well. So I haven't seen him enough times to say he's not that good. Just that he hasn't been that good when I've seen him play for Dortmund. And
well, yeah, but it's interesting because it does create a benchmark. Well, we'll get onto the famous five or infamous five who are the bomb squad getting kicked out of United, but Alejandro Garnacho has consistently overperformed him on every metric. And Gittins has gone for 55 million. They're the same age. Gittins is from a league with the Bundesliga tax and all that. At least sets a benchmark for what United should be looking for. You know,
I guess the difference might be that they think that Madueke has a higher ceiling.
Well, Gittins, you mean Gittins?
I mean, Gittins has a high ceiling. I mean, I don't know.
Quite possibly, yeah.
But I think with Garnacho, we can see the player he is now. And given what we know of his skill set, how much better do we think he's going to get?
Yeah, well, one thing I'd heard is that in coaching circles, when a player consistently underperforms their XG, they feel like that's an opportunity. Like if they can get them finishing better, they're getting in the right places, they're taking enough shots, they're beating their man, all of that kind of stuff. And if they're underperforming the XG through poor finishing, that can be coached in. So that's one in the favour of Garnacho. But certainly, I mean, you couldn't tell me what Garnacho's end state would be. I just don't know. It feels like he's a coachable player, though, even if his social media stuff is, he feels like every time he's been asked to up his game and change because of a coach, he's come back. And that kind of says there's something there. But obviously, there's the reported attitude stuff, which is a little hard to pin down.
It's not about the coachability so much. It's that when I look at him and say, what do I think could be better? I want to see him beat a man. I want to see him. And is that something you can coach?
Yeah, he's never going to be that player. He's not going to turn into a dribbler.
Much. And if you're a winger, because he can carry the ball, but he can only really beat men in space.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest problem with him. Like, I could see the finishing get better. I could see the decision-making get better. But I'm still going, winger that doesn't beat players is not exactly what I'm after.
All right, let's go on to the incoming transfer piece, and then we'll do more on the five and what's going to happen there. So the constant drip feed of it's coming soon on Bryan Mbeumo. I mean, who knows? Like, latest reporting I saw today, is there like a £2 million difference? I'm not sure. It takes 6 weeks in negotiations to sort that one out. I wonder if something else is going on there, especially with Wissa apparently being of interest to Tottenham. Don't know what you make of that. United slow rolling this one. Is that just the media perception? But
we never really know. I guess we can speculate that they're waiting to get the windfall from Elanga. 55 million quid for him, by the way. Goodness me. Enjoy his first touch.
He does have to play in a team that plays reactive football, right? So at Newcastle, he'll get that. I couldn't see him ever succeeding in a possession-based team at all. But
yeah, I mean,
it's amazing Newcastle for the numbers. Yeah,
more reactive, exactly. Because I feel like in terms of the way their midfield play, they're quite proactive. But I agree, they're not a possession team.
Yeah.
I mean. So, yeah, the windfall for him and Alvaro Fernandez, who, I mean, it is hard not to wonder if he's a better player than Dorgu, isn't it?
I don't need to wonder, yeah. He's definitely a better player than Dorgu, and United have, it was pretty cataclysmic. So, if you can say an extra 7 million for him, yeah, bonus, but that takes the fee up to about 12 or 13 million, and Real Madrid just paid 50, right? So did he, in a year with Benfica, has he made £35 million worth of improvement? No, we undersold him. And we undersold him because Ten Hag just wouldn't give him an option, would rather play a crap defensive midfielder at left back rather than a young attacking left back with a high ceiling. Makes no sense to me. Didn't make any sense to me then. Doesn't make any sense to me now. So we'll take the windfall, but I think it was a pretty cataclysmic failure of squad planning there on United's behalf.
Well, I can see why, in the sense, they sold him because they had to get some money from somewhere. But obviously, if someone's good enough a year later to play for Real Madrid, maybe you shouldn't have sold them, who can say? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So we've got slow rolling on Mbeumo and then the other forward speculation. Because I'm not surprised if United start looking at number 9s while Mbeumo's not happening. there was the Ollie Watkins speculation last week. I mean, he would guarantee you, 15, 16, 17, 18 goals. He's quite old. That's the kind of transfer that United have been walking away from, 40, 50, 60 million for a player who's 30 this year.
I mean, it's one of those, isn't it, where he's someone who would improve us, but no one has presumably watched him and thought, let's get him. Like none of the people listening to this have coveted Ollie Watkins.
No, I mean, he'd certainly be something. I just feel like it's not even the old phrasing around sell on value. It's the total PSR cost, right? And the fact that there is no contract after this one, so you don't get a freebie later. Which if you sign a young player, you pay over the 5 years, and then after year 5 or when they upgrade their contract, it changes the calculations completely. With this, it doesn't, right? It's more like the Casemiro deal. You'll pay 50, let's say call it 50 million, and you pay him 10 million a year. There's a 20 million pound a year PSR cost, and there's nothing afterwards. And so it's just not a good financial deal to buy players of that age for that much money. And that's part of the reason why United are in so much financial trouble. So part of the reason, not the whole reason, obviously. But it feels like one of those deals that would guarantee you a certain amount of goals, but he's a player who takes you up to 4th or 5th, not to 1st.
And also, you need to go again.
You'd have to buy another player again
under every single circumstance. There's no circumstance in which you wouldn't have to go again, basically as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Whereas I haven't seen Moise Kean play for Fiorentina, so this is not a comment about whether Moise Kean would be the best available option or not, but he's 25, right? So if he succeeds, you don't have to go again.
Yeah.
But Watkins buys you, 2 years maximum. But let's say you get Watkins, things go really well for United this season, and next season we're starting to think, do you know what, we could start making some sort of challenge. You basically got to go again then, because if you're saying, where could we make this better, it would be there. Yes.
I guess the other question about Watkins is, why exactly was he dropped like a hot potato for Marcus Rashford? It happened immediately. So there you go. There would be a swap there if all parties wanted it, but it appears not.
When literally a hot potato would have been about as much use as Marcus Rashford.
Well, that is true. All right.
Still painful to say that shit, but I'm afraid it is what it is.
And
as James Wade once said, also it isn't what it isn't.
Yeah, well, true. Yeah, I know. I mean, for Marcus's sake, I hope he seals the deal he wants and gets somewhere. For United, unfortunately, we're in this situation where we've burned the leverage on every single one of the players we want to sell. Not awesome communications from the club on this one. So one of the things on Marcus, let's talk about the 5 outgoings.
Can I say on that point, though, it's a difficult one in that, on the one hand, you're right, like, if you're trying to sell something for as much as possible, putting a sign on it saying this is a shit cunt is not going to help you. But it's not quite as simple as that, because what you're also trying to do is lay some smackdown here.
Sure, right. So let's talk about the 5 in the context of the broader cultural reset that Amorim wants and what that means, and then how we sell them, basically. So Marcus is interesting because a couple of years ago he'd have had a huge value. That's been completely reduced by 2 things. One, the massive contract, which means that there's a market of about 5 clubs worldwide that could afford him, and 4 of them are English sort of thing.
And that's always the case.
That was always the case,
said would make that not the case. And just a little anecdote on Rashford. I don't know how often he does this, but I do know on at least one occasion recently-ish, he played cards till a very early hour of the morning, lost several £100,000, and then went to training.
Yeah,
that I know for a fact.
Yeah, I've certainly heard these stories. I've not repeated them.
No, we've all heard them.
Yeah.
We've all heard them, and the reason why I'm repeating this one is because I know that it's true.
All right. Yeah. That may well be a problem with him. It's certainly been said, although you'd duty of care and all that. I hope he's got some help from somewhere if that is a problem.
I'm not. This is not me. This is not me criticising him. Like if he's got a gambling situation or if he's unhappy in his life in some way, this isn't me like dancing on his grave saying, "I told you he's a prick." I don't think that. I love Marcus Rashford, and I'll never forget what he's done for United in the time that he was here, the extent to which we ruined him, what he did to feed school kids during COVID, all of that. Like, but Marcus Rashford is incredible with me. So that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if I know this, you can be sure that everyone in football knows this.
Yeah, that's very true. But and maybe a move abroad will help him with that.
Yeah,
but,
and it's not about judging, saying he's a man of loose morals or anything like that.
Sure, yeah.
It's just his future as a footballer is cloudy for things that don't necessarily have that much to do with football, and it's whether he's let himself get too far, I think.
So on his exit, I mean, I would say the likely scenario is a loan away late in the window. I'm not sure that banishing them and refusing to let them train is the smartest move here. In fact, I would, if I was the players, they're harming their professional there, and I'm not sure that's great. And then taking the number 10 away from him feels personal. That it's a bit odd. I would like the club to play with a little more respect there. I know people are going to go, yeah, fuck him. He asked for a move away, although the timeline I would dispute there. I just think that's disrespectful. We don't need to behave like that, even if we don't like the player in the middle of the season saying, yeah, I'm happy with a new challenge or whatever he said to Henry.
I mean, the number to me is like it's neither here nor there because we know he's leaving.
It's symbolic though, isn't it?
So right. So given that we do know that he's finished at United, and we might as well give Cunha that shirt if Cunha wants that shirt and it means something to him. I don't think taking it from him is a problem. You could say that as United making it so obvious he's finished at United is a problem for reasons of selling him for as much as you possibly can or whatever, or saying that they shouldn't have treated him like that. My sense is that he probably pushed Amorim into doing that, where the manager probably felt like, I can't tolerate this bullshit anymore. Like, I had to do something. So taking the number 10 away from him, we know he's had his United career taken away from him. So the shirt number, it's saying, you're not entitled to this anymore as a consequence of your own actions.
Well, yeah, I guess so, yeah. It's order of operations, isn't it? It feels a bit like dancing on the grave before he's even been buried, but the squad doesn't have to be announced. The numbers don't have to be announced for 6 weeks now, or 5 weeks or something like that. So that could have happened later. Does it really matter in the bigger picture? No. He will end up being loaned to Barcelona if they don't get Diaz. If they do, he's got a real problem. It'll be a loan somewhere
I don't
else.
think they are getting Diaz.
It doesn't look like it, yeah. And so they are a forward short. We'll see whether that happens or not, but Barcelona will end up paying a portion of his wages and no fee is my guess, and that'll be United subsidising another club again. I mean, it's not like take away everything that's happened and what you feel about Marcus Rashford, whether you hate him, whether you like him, whether he's in your heart, or whether you think he's the fault of the root of all United's ills. That is United paying money for another club to have one of our assets there. It's absolutely fucking mad that the club is still doing this, and it's part of the reason why it's so hard to unwind the financial position. The other one we've spoken about a little bit already is Alejandro Garnacho. He should command the biggest fee of all of them. He's on relatively low wages. The communications around this, have not been awesome. Starting with the "you better hope you can find another club" conversation that got leaked, presumably from Alejandro's people. Who knows? It's not a great situation to have a fire sale for a player who should be a massive asset. Even if you want him out, it's fine. 150 years of United's history, every single manager has sold players, right? So it's perfectly fine. You want to big them up, not destroy their value. I cannot get my head around what the club think they're doing with this.
They probably thought that there would be a market for him, whatever they did, so they could cut him off in public to make a point, and there wouldn't actually be a cost. That would be my best guess.
It's blown back in their faces, I'd imagine. I mean, if he really does want to stay in the Premier League, which has been the reporting, Chelsea is now out because they bought Gittins.
But it's also blown
what are their
back in his
options?
face. It's blown back in his face as well.
He has, yeah, true, yeah, 100%, yeah.
So
The market for him has narrowed.
Really was not at like a baby when he got left out of the starting team for the Europa final, and this would have happened in a different way, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. He's not blameless in this at all. Yeah, he clearly acted.
What we're really saying is that it's all right for him to act up, and the club have to ignore it in order to get a price for him. That's the only other option, right? Manager made
at least don't wash your dirty linen in public is what I'd say. But yes, absolutely, he acted in a very immature way. He is 20, but yeah, I don't. I mean,
I was extremely mature at his age.
I was not, but
I accepted all slights.
Yeah. I could tell some tales about how I behaved at work when I was 20, but yeah, I mean, clearly we have an expectation around footballers which is unrealistic sometimes. Some players are extremely mature at 18. Some are shagging grannies, and some are posting on social media when they get left out and behaving like babies. You know, he's definitely not blameless. The club, I feel, could have handled this better, because now we've got where's the market?
It's also the thing about Garnacho that kind of pissed me off with it was like just in terms of football intelligence, that I don't know, like we've all been left out of teams probably when we thought we should have been picked, but you can usually see a reason. For Garnacho, could he genuinely not? Was he surprised? I knew he was going to be left out when we did the team on here in the week before. We knew the team that was going to get picked. Garnacho, did he really not see which way the wind was blowing? A, and B, could he not fathom a reason he might be left out of that game? And you could even look at it positively that he's a good sub.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And he should have just walked past the mix zone when he gave that interview. It was a 30-second interview. And then the social media posted Marcus. I mean, honestly, I just found that funny because he's trolling, but obviously offended a lot of fans. I guess I'm in the minority where I don't really get offended by that kind of stuff. I'm not getting
like to get offended by Alejandro Garnacho. I mean, as an adult, you're really like, yeah.
Brent lost his shit over that one. He did about 5 videos on it. I mean,
he said that he was immature. I mean, come on, guys.
I know. Yeah.
But the fact, I mean, it sort of almost speaks badly of his football intelligence that he was A, surprised to be left out, and B, couldn't understand why he was left out. Because to me, both of those things are obvious, even if they're incorrect decisions.
Yeah.
That to not be able to see why either of them see them coming or see why it happened, I mean, that makes me think a bit of an idiot.
Well, I don't doubt that. I think he probably is a bit of an idiot, and he needs.
I mean, we all are ultimately.
Yeah. He needs a strong hand around his shoulder. He needs a manager who understands how to get the best out of him, help him mature. We are yet to see what kind of coach Amorim is in that sort of format. He's been very willing to lay down the law and drop people and kick them out of the squad, which has its place, of course. I'm yet to see a player who's actually improved under him, so we'll see over time whether he's...
No, that's not true.
Who?
Euro definitely.
Oh, Euro, yeah. You're fair enough. Yeah, Euro had a great second half of the season. Yeah. We'll see with Amorim whether
Bruno also, once he learned the position, excellent in the second half of the season.
He was, yeah.
He's fully formed, so it's hard to say he's got better.
Exactly.
He's a fucking brilliant player already, but the form that he produced in the second half of the season was pretty much as good as anything we've seen from him. So
that's true, but that wasn't really my point. It wasn't about the performance of the player. It's like growth of player.
Okay, so. Xerxes, much better. Then he got injured. Much better, got injured.
Sure.
Who else have we got? I mean, Heaven he signed and was good from the beginning. So I know what you mean. I know what you mean, but also if we look at the team, we went from a team that couldn't create to a team that couldn't score, which to me is actually quite a significant improvement because it shows that the method is starting to work. So in theory, if you then put better attackers, better goal scorers in the team, so Cunha and Mbeumo, then you should see a much better team.
Yeah. I think you're arguing a different point, which is not really about his coaching abilities, but about the whole package of the managerial stuff, right? So can he take difficult situations and make the best of them? I'm not sure yet. Like his response has been to kick everyone out, which has its place, right? Fergie's done that.
Everybody dies.
With much better players as well. And then later live to regret some of it. Not many of them. Yeah. So and it's I can't compare 39-year-old Amorim with Ferguson, of course, right?
So what are we actually? So I mean, it's difficult, isn't it, though? Because on the one hand, we say we want to clear out, and then on the other hand, what we're saying that the clear out was too stinky.
Yeah, I think yeah. I wouldn't wash my dirty washing in public. Basically, I think it should have all been behind closed doors, and we're just in a situation for different reasons. Some on the players, some on the market, some on the club, some on the manager. We've now got 5 players who should have had a higher value than they do have, or are virtually unsellable, and you're in a really difficult position as a result. So we've gone through Rashford and Garnacho, Sancho. And basically, when Chelsea paid us the $5 million to take him back, that made the possibility of contract termination or effective contract termination by loaning him out for another year very real. Now, maybe Juventus will pony up some money.
I was just thinking.
I'd be so fucking shocked if they pony up the $25 million that Chelsea were going to pay. Why? Why would they do that? Yeah, it makes no sense. But yeah,
I never played the old lady when Rooney was at the club. Really. That's just what I was thinking. But
certainly played an old lady or two. Yeah.
But, I mean, 25 million quid for Sancho just seems far too good to be true, doesn't it?
Yeah. No. Does he rank it, of all the crap transfers in the last 10 years? How high does he rank? He's got to be right up there, right?
Yeah. Maybe in the top 1. He's up there with Di Maria. But the difference with Di Maria is we
got money back.
And he got fucked over by the manager.
Yeah.
Di Maria was a fucking top player. Whatever anyone says, we hear this shit weak. Yeah. Couldn't handle his house being burgled with his family in there, and he didn't even want to be in Manchester to begin with, because of course he should have been celebrating. But no, Di Maria was a top player, and Van Gaal bottled everything after that Leicester game, and then started playing him up front, and it didn't work. So I can't blame Di Maria for that. Whereas for Sancho, really, I'm blaming Sancho.
Yeah. I even as much of a shit manager as I thought Ten Hag was, I pretty much supported Ten Hag over his behaviour there. I thought even the weird comms that came out of Sancho's team saying he'd had medical information leaked by the club. I was what? Ten Hag gave a response saying he wasn't mentally ready. He didn't say he had mental health issues. So Sancho is an unmitigated failure on the pitch, off the pitch, financially. In every possible scenario, it's been as bad as it possibly can be. United have been paying this guy 200 grand a week for 4 years now and burned £72 million in a transfer fee and got absolutely no value for it. It's absolutely catastrophic how bad that has been. The only clubs that can get away with that are City, basically, because they can just print money whenever they feel like it. So,
I mean, in fairness, it is helped by the fact that they keep winning shit.
That is helped because you have a market for your players then, even the ones you don't want.
And you get to play this ludicrous Club World Cup, which even though... what a joy that was, though, to wake up and find that City have lost to Al Hilal in a game that no one even remembered was happening.
No, couldn't give a shit.
And you wake up in the morning, it's
Yeah.
Oh, heartwarming.
I would have the Premier League teams vote to adjust the PSR rules and say this doesn't count because it's just sports washing money. It's the Saudis handed $1 billion to FIFA via DAZN in a very dodgy deal, and the winners of this tournament will get 150 million as a one-off of free money. Yeah, I don't know how that... it's unacceptable in much the same way as selling your women's team to yourself should be unacceptable, but there you go. Yeah, Sancho, there's no market for him. Yeah, if we get any fee, it would be a bonus. 10 million would clear us with the 5 million from Chelsea from a PSR perspective. Seems unlikely, but who knows? Maybe there's enough interest in his past performance, 4 years ago to...
Serie A also looks like it is a good league for him.
Slower, yeah. He can... the thing he needs are not physical and not playing in space. He needs the ball in tight areas, and then he can show off those foot skills. But as for the rest of the package, what a disaster. Tyrell Malacia, PSV didn't want him. He only started 5 games on loan there. It's not a big financial hit. I feel sorry for the guy because he had 2 years of injuries. like 2 knee injuries in the same.
Seems like a nice guy.
Knee. Seems like a nice guy. Has worked really hard. Obviously, United don't need him. We've got 16 other left backs now because we swung totally the other way after having none for a while. So, yeah, selling him for whatever is possible, but I'd imagine another loan is much more realistic because no one will take the risk on the transfer fee, or they may even terminate his contract. This could happen with Sancho as well. It's actually financially better to do that. Pay them 50% up front and then say, on your bike, son, go and get a free transfer somewhere. Might happen.
Like anti-Gray style.
On your bike.
Slightly expensive.
I'm challenging you.
Conversations.
Smashed it. Yeah. No, that was Richard Keys who said that, wasn't it? Well, yeah, both of them. Yeah. Feel sorry for the guy, but he's got no place in the squad, clearly. And we have to say bye. Anthony is the other one. I mean, he had a good time at Betis. We do need to clear 30-odd million, though, to net out even on PSR. So can you see Betis paying that? I know they've sold players, but they've never been anywhere near that.
No.
20 years. So
seems unlikely.
Yeah. And Athletic Madrid
they
bought
paid
some
a lot
of
of
those
money
players.
for Denilson, in fairness.
That was, 25 years ago, though. So they did. The club has been on financial hard times for the last 20-odd years. So we'll see on that one. It would be a surprise. But Anthony's on lower wages, which makes him easier to sell.
Yeah, my sense ultimately is that, I mean, he also slagged us off, didn't he, after the Europa saying, see, it wasn't me.
Did he? I didn't even notice that.
Something like that. It's like, mate, you're overstating your importance there. No one said it was you. They just said you weren't good enough, and you're not. You're still not.
Yeah.
I mean, here's another one, needs a sort of a slower, less physical league, I think. He sort of became equated with being shit because we paid so much money for him, and he sort of got quite dislikable Chevy Chase, but it's not the case. Like, in that first season, he wasn't bad. He took the ball always. He managed to get us up the pitch. He was playing without a proper right back behind him. If you imagine at the time, we had Wan-Bissaka, very Wan-Bissaka, and Rashford on the other side had Short. Of course, that's going to make a massive difference. He's still not good enough. He's not rubbish. He's worth £30 million, I'd say, but finding a team to play it is a problem. And ultimately, shit stinks, and desperation stinks, and shit times desperation really, really fucking stinks.
Well, exactly.
And that's us.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point I was making. Yeah, it's we've got ourselves in a situation where we've got 5 players who everyone knows we don't want them. There's no market except for Garnacho, and he stinks for various reasons as well. And it's a very bad situation.
Look at City. Look at how they're selling players, and look how we used to sell players when we were good.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the it's like a fringe benefit of being good is that people want your cast-offs. But if you're dreadful, why would anyone want your cast-offs?
And they're on such high wages that they can't fit anywhere else, right? So, yeah. I would make a massive effort on the club's behalf to big up Alejandro Garnacho. Even a fake rapprochement would make sense, even if you don't think he's going to be sold, just to get some of the stink off. But yeah, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So we are going into the new season, if no more deals are done, with just Cunha as an addition and 5 departures effectively. Now, it's not the best situation. I have to say, I'm not panicking because there's still another month of the transfer window, or a month till the season starts, and another 7 weeks of the transfer window. But we do play a game in 10 days' time, and then going off in 5 to the US tour. It's not a great addition. I know that. So you swapped effectively Garnacho for Cunha. Rashford wasn't much part of the squad. Anthony wasn't either. So it's not like you're losing loads of talent there by ostracising these 5 players. But the whole squad as a whole is theoretically weaker than it was last summer. So how do we move forward? And how do you expect a team that finished 15th to suddenly get up into the European places with that kind of addition? I mean, as it stands, you couldn't possibly expect it.
I mean, my sense is that Mbeumo will turn up at some point.
Seems likely, yeah. Unless Tottenham really do lay down money for Wissa, and then Brentford have no need to sell.
And we even know that could just as easily be they're trying to speed up this
Absolutely,
this Mbeumo deal. Well, we don't know that that's true. I mean, I assume we'll get Mbeumo at some point in the next sort of 2 weeks. And the question then is what else we can afford to do. Because to me, like,
without sales,
we need 2 players. We must get a goalie. We must get a midfielder.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, 3 players and a centre forward.
And a centre forward. Yeah. Absolutely. And it would appear, I mean, United had 73 million cash on hand at the last accounts. That is months ago now, effectively. So Jim has not put any more cash in, and it wouldn't help from a PSR perspective at all. There is the credit card. I wouldn't expect Ratcliffe to put any more money in without more equity, and the Glazers, I don't expect them to sell equity without pocketing the cash themselves. So I don't see any scenario in which that is available, owner funding. So it's all on United's accounts. There was only 73 million, plus whatever we get in sales, plus whatever's coming through season ticket sales and all of that kind of stuff. So United are not in a great position financially without selling players, and as we've just discussed, there's not a lot of value there. So it seems very hard to put a scenario in place unless we take a gamble on PSR, which is and that's less of a problem, right? We spend money on the credit card, the Bank of America line of credit, of which there was 150 odd million available. That does spend a lot this summer if you want, given that you spread payments out over a number of years. So there's the possible scenario of doing that. It's not what the club has said they're going to do. Omar Barada has said, and Ratcliffe more obliquely has said, we're going to live within our means.
Yeah, and I mean, because also what you don't want to do is you don't want to go and spend 60 million quid on a centre forward isn't really good enough on the credit card, because that then affects what you can do next summer when you want to buy a really good one.
And then it's 3 summers, yeah. It would be completely counter. This is, Watkins, completely counter to what the club are trying to do.
If we could get, let's say, and I'm completely pulling this out of my arse, I'm not saying that this is even speculation. Let's say they decide they can get Ekitike. They want the Ekitike or Šeško are good enough to be United centre forward for the next 10 years. To go and do that on the credit card so that we've got them this year, not next year, would make some sense.
Sure.
To go and bust that, like, half the amount of money or whatever on someone isn't really good enough, just so you've got someone, is not helpful. But at the same time, do you need someone to score goals?
Yeah, absolutely. But the challenge is that kind of thinking has got us into trouble in the past. I mean, the Casemiro deal is the one I would hold up, and apparently the one that Ratcliffe pointed to as being, it's not like he's a bad player, and you couldn't say Watkins would be a bad player, but it's a bad deal from a financial perspective. And that's what's got United into this kind of trouble. I guess you're just paying a very high amount annually for not enough.
I guess the way I saw Casemiro at the time was it was sort of a loss leader. If you think about when we bought him, we just fucking lost those first 2 games, Brighton and Brentford, and we've been battered in both of them. And we're trying to buy like Marko Arnautovic and some other shit midfielder, I forget who it was. So they then go, actually, this is a problem. So they go and buy, was it Anthony and Casemiro towards the end of the window?
Yeah.
And it felt like Casemiro they were saying, we're going to get 2 good years out of him. Obviously, it didn't quite work out like that. They thought they'd get 2 good years out of him, presumably. And then you just have to absorb. You have to absorb the costs of the second 2 years, because it's a loss leader to get you from here to here, rather than buying someone shit for less money who will get you less of the distance. So I know that Casemiro is held up as just a mad transfer. It made sense to me at the time, even though I understood the downside. So if it made sense at the time, then I sort of feel like it still makes some level of sense now, even if it didn't quite work out in the way that we wanted it to.
Yeah. I think you just separate the football part from the financial part. The financial part was mad. The football part hasn't been a disaster with him. He had a good second half of last season. I would suggest that his better games are in those less intense ones, and he's not going to get that this season. He's only going to get to play Premier League games, which is why we need another midfielder. Are the club like doing this on the stealth, and they're going to pop up with a high class midfielder that we haven't heard of, because we're not even speculated with getting one? And it's the balance that is the problem. You've got Uati Menu and Fernandez. I think we can say is number 8, assuming that Mbeumo turns up. He might not be if he doesn't. Those are our three options. Collier, who Amorim hasn't really given any opportunities to, he was injured as well. And that's it, right?
Good enough.
Am I missing anyone there? That's our options for the season. Casemiro, Ugarte, Fernandes and Mainoo. Because it's not like any of them are bad players, but I can't find the balance with any combinations of those players that make sense.
You can say they're not bad players, but it's also the case that like Ugarte and Casemiro at this are not good. And I guess they do need to find someone who can play with Bruno. And how they go about doing that, I mean, I would probably, and I know they're desperate for goals, and I like the way Mbeumo could potentially complement Cunha, where if he wants to run in behind, stretch defences, whereas Cunha is more likely to come deep. I quite like that. I quite like the imagined rotations down the right with Yoro, Mbeumo and Ahmad as well, because I think they can all sort of slot into each other's. Ahmad can play inside and Mbeumo can play outside. So I do like that, but I think I would probably be with if I only had money for Mbeumo and no other signing, I'd be sticking Bruno in Mbeumo's place and spending Mbeumo money on a midfield player.
And or a striker, yeah, but yeah, absolutely, yeah. If that deal doesn't happen, you spend the money elsewhere to strengthen a different part of the team, and Bruno plays in that front three next season. So it is troubling that if you go into the season with that midfield, there's no balance that's right there. You know, Ugarte gives you sort of balance on the defensive side, but even there we've seen him struggle physically. He makes a lot of tackles in the interceptions. He's crap on the ball. He's very one-dimensional. Can that improve in his second season?
Yes.
Yeah,
I would expect to see more from him, but nothing I've seen from him before he signed for United or after tells me that he's good enough.
Deary me.
And the fact that we fucking gave Paris money for him and what they did with it, I mean, they'd sort of done it already, but they knew they were getting it, is going by Neves.
Yeah, no. I mean, João Neves is
he was a proper player.
Yeah, he's a proper player. Significantly better player than Ugarte. And I don't think there's a scenario in which we were getting him. I mean, Paris ponied up the money. You know, and it was a lot of money. It's just we funded it, much as we funded Real Madrid's deal for Tchouaméni by buying Casemiro. Who else can we fund to buy the next much younger, better player? I guess we'll see. We're going to be flying out to the States with an interesting squad. I imagine it's not the one Amorim wanted. There are a lot of pictures and posts on social media this week of players in training, pumping iron. Kobbie Mainoo looking ripped, I would say. He's been on a weightlifting program for quite some time, I imagine. So he looked stronger last season as well.
I could still take you if I had to, obviously.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And his performance...
19-year-old ripped Kobbie Mainoo versus 45-year-old Daniel.
46.
46. I'd like to see it, to be fair. I would pay.
And I know it was only 20 minutes mainly, but I did really like his performance against Villa. That was exactly the kind of thing we want to see from him. And I guess what if we were to get a number 6, then what we'd probably see from him is rotating a bit more with Bruno. Bruno doesn't play quite as many games, and with the opportunity to stake a claim for when Bruno's finished or no longer good enough to be first choice, that Mainoo would be that guy.
Yeah.
Or when the manager gets fired, he slots into a 4-3-3.
Exactly.
Round about November.
Because, well, I mean, that's a live possibility with no changes to the squad, yeah. Kobbie Mainoo would be a fantastic player in almost any team on the planet in a 4-3-3. We've found the one system in which it's difficult to slot him in. If he is a sacrifice to a manager who doesn't work out, I think we'll be having a lot of words about that in the years to come. But yeah, that's speculation for now. Obviously, I hope Ruben Amorim takes the crap squad he has and turns it around to make them all brilliant. And we get the progression we saw from the Villa game, although not the Tottenham game that came before it, because that was dreadful. Yeah. Are you looking forward to United's first game in 10 days' time? against Leeds in Rosenborg.
Against Leeds in Rosenborg. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'm always happy when the football comes back, and I bitched about this a lot towards the end of last season. Like, the absence of European football is going to definitely sting me hard, because just not having enough United in my life, even when it's shit, I still want United to be there. And it's always, I always say this, that season with Van Gaal, where we get walloped by MK Dons and we're not in Europe, and then all of a sudden there's just no football. And even Van Gaal's football, I mean, I wouldn't like to say I wanted more of it exactly, but I wanted more, more United, not less United, and hopefully it won't be like that this season.
Well, it will be, because, well, maybe we'll enjoy the football. There just won't be much of it. We're going to have an awful lot of midweeks free, so we'll see whether that benefits Amorim and the work he's doing with his squad or not. They can't complain about being overworked, that's for sure. We might only get 40 games this season. If we get knocked out 2 cups early, there's going to be hardly any football. I mean, and you can work with a much smaller squad, which we're going to have by the looks of it. All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you, Daniel.
See you, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Bye now.